of another heart attack. His cholesterol was 281. 281. Here's what happened now, saints. I sat down to speak with him. He had about 6 or 7, probably about 7 or 8, I think. Either, let's put it this way, between 6 to 8 other multimillionaires with him. And I was there with a couple of friends of mine. It was 3 young black men with the Spirit of the Lord with them, speaking to 6 to 8 elderly, more mature white gentlemen. Can you imagine the situation? We're in a $7.5 multi-million-dollar home, and he had 3 young black men speaking to more mature, elderly white gentlemen who had the means to buy whatever they want. And once we sat down, the first thing they said to me said, Mr. Luke, we want no religion discussed. That's what one of the gentlemen said. Say, man. Did you guys get that? Elder Daly, right off the get-go, you know I was already messing up right there when I said amen, you know? And here's what I did. I says, okay, in my mind, I says, okay, these guys don't want religion. I'll just use the scriptural information without the reference. I made a scriptural reference without the reference. The young guy looked at one of the young multimillionaire. He says, that's a biblical quote. I said, no, if you knew that's a biblical quote, that means that there's some form of spiritual background you have. I said, all rules gone. I said, no what's that? No holds bar? I said, I'm going to just say whatever. Amen? And the Lord just opened the door. One time, no restriction. So I just began teaching anyhow. And listen, as I began teaching these multimillionaires, they start responding. The owner of the home with the 2 heart attacks already, he started responding. The Holy Spirit began opening his heart. And listen to this. Under his basement, he has a custom cellar. In the custom cellar, he had $70,000 worth of exquisite wine and $40,000 on its way. $110,000 in exquisite wine. And when he and I began talking about the wine, you know what he says he does? Whenever people come in for make business deal, he take out one of the expensive wines put out, they had them drink, and they make the deal. Basically, blessed be the name of the Lord. You have a few drinks and they make decisions. And what happened while we were there speaking, and I start going through the laws of health in relationship to violation and his sickness and disease. Oh, well, Elder Daly asked, did he give me any wine? The answer is no, but he did ask us. We had a chef with us, an executive chef. And oh, by the way, I don't know if I told you guys, I do a little something on the side too. Amen. And while we were doing a little, something, here's what happened. He took my friend who was the chef and took him downstairs to the cellar and basically said, hey, chef, you think you can take some of this wine and do a couple things in the kitchen for me? Chef said, no, we can't do that. Amen. We don't cook with wine. Amen. So here's what happened now. As we were up there teaching, and I start going through all the things you can't use and what you can use, I got to the wine. And I said, brother so-and-so, the wine got to go. We're going to take the wine. You got to remember now, how many black men? 3 young men of color to 6 to 8 more mature lighter color men. Amen? And as I looked at the gentleman, I said, that $110,000 worth of wine, we got to take that. We're going to just go over there and pour it in the sand. And let me tell you something. They looked at me and they rolled. They start laughing. They laugh hysterically. Let's say 6 to 7, depending on the. Let me just fix a number. Let's say I had 8 of them. 7 of the 8, they said, we'll take the wine. They said, give me your wine. They said to the other multimillionaire, we'll take it. I said, no, saints, listen, if it's not good for him, it's not good for you. Okay? That wine has to be destroyed. And They said, okay, James, go on. Okay, next one. Amen. And we moved on. And when we got done, listen to this. That night, the owner of that home became a total vegan vegetarian. That night, that moment, after he heard the message, he changed on the spot. Listen to this. All the others sat back and they were rolling. And the news went around the island. In no time, the news went around the island that this man had become vegan. So here's what happened now. As he go to restaurant, everybody used to count on his big outlay. It stopped. So they wanted to know, who was this guy who stopped the outlay? So all of a sudden, people want to know who I was now that interrupted the flow, you know? But guess the good news is, less than 2 weeks on the program, his cholesterol went from 281 to 152 or 153. He continued on the program. 7 to 9 weeks later, it dropped to 140, 141. Now, saints, let me ask you a question. Based on the Framingham study, what happens? Individuals with cholesterol level on the 150 milligrams have never done what? Had a heart attack. Do you know that this multimillionaire, after he made the changes, have not had any more problems with heart disease? But I have to share another part to the story. The story is not over. The story is not over. That was over 4 years ago. Well, what happened, I just got back from the islands in January, but I was there in December also. And what happened, you remember that wine that he did not get rid of? What ended up happening, that wine that he kept ended up becoming the vice that held him captive. And that wine held him and catapulted him into drugs. And he was using crack cocaine and all kind of stuff as a result, you know. So everybody like, hey, you know, can you come back and take care of so and so? Because everybody want to know, who is this guy who helped him? So when I got back there again, they asked me if I can assist in helping him and so forth. I was going to all these business meetings. I was meeting all these type of people, have no clue. The tops, all the top people that makes decision, that were decision maker, multi-million-dollar deals were being made in front of me. And I said, who is he? He's an advisor for our company. Now, saints, listen to me. I'm a medical missionary literature evangelist. Okay, saints? And I'm sitting there and watching all this money taking place, all these decisions taking place among all these leaders. And they say, who is he? He's the advisor to our company. You know, and I'm like, blessed be the name of the Lord. But the sad part about it is that the gentleman actually decided he was going to come back to one of our facility that we can assist. And you know the good news is he did actually come, that we can assist him at one of the facility. But unfortunately, the changes weren't totally implemented on his behalf. And, you know, little challenges there. But God bless still. His wife took Bible study for over a whole year. And she went through the entire conflict of the ages. What I did, I was looking for someone on the island who was willing to practice health reform and teach the Bible and spirit of prophecy. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to find anyone. So I found someone who had went through one of our classes like you guys. And I spoke to the young lady and said, do you mind studying with this young lady for me? And by phone, they studied for over a whole year and went through the entire conflict of the ages. And I'll tell you what was amazing. While they were going through, somewhere in between, this young lady, she had wanted to get married so bad but couldn't get married, couldn't find the right person. Do you know that when she began working for Jesus, God sent her her man, sent her her husband? And do you know that when she got married, she was able to link up with the multimillionaire's wife and went to the islands and had her honeymoon on that island with the multimillionaire's wife? Isn't that something, saints? But I just want to show you how God blessed. In less than 2 weeks, that man's cholesterol came right down, which was real easy. Okay? But let's continue on cholesterol right where we left off. We found that cholesterol is manufactured where? In the liver. Anything that has a what? Liver, or comes from that of a liver, or related to that of a liver, or have a face or a mother, or if it's a mushroom, will have what? Cholesterol. That is correct. Now, let's deal with the two carriers and the ranges. We already said you want it to be less than what? 200. Then you want it to be less, and at 180, cholesterol attaches itself to the artery. Then we said, based on the Framingham study, levels at 150 and below, no one has ever had a heart attack. Well, let's deal with the two carriers right now. With the LDL cholesterol, here's what happened. Your range for the LDL should be less than 130. But we found that at 90, listen to me, saints, at 90 and below is your optimum, is where optimum health is given. Okay, 90 and below, and that's for LDL. Okay, less than 130 is where you want to be, but for optimum health, you want to be where? 90 and below. Now, HDL, now, we're going to do HDL for men and HDL for women. HDL for men, you want to be at 40 and above. 40 and what? Above. And now, saints, listen to this. This is deep, because there's a certain level that when the HDL gets to that level, it becomes protective. It becomes what? At 75 milligrams percent, it becomes what? Protective. So you want to try, men, you want to try and get that HDL above what? At 75 and above, where it becomes protective. Now, ladies, for your HDL, you want to be where? At 50 and above. At 50 and above. Ladies, did you hear that? At 50 and above is where you want to be. Does that make sense? Okay, so now that we have our ranges, let's go a little deeper now. They found that women have a higher incidence of heart disease than men. Women are more likely to have heart attacks than men are. Okay? Now, listen to this now. Oh, blessed be the name of the Lord. And the reason being for that, Sister Langley says, but they treat men more. And the reason for that, women tend to go to the doctor more frequently than men do. And as a result, you'll find that men are more likely to be treated for it because they only go when the problem is there. And women tend to detect that problem at a much earlier age. Yes, Dr. Parks? Oh, Dr. Parks, come a second. Oh, Dr. Parks, that's a lot of good information. I got to get you on tape. Handle, is the mic there on too? Amen.
When women go to the doctor with some of the same symptoms that men will go, the doctors will treat them for anxiety or some type of emotional disorder, where actually it's a heart attack coming or some symptoms suggesting that it's there. Men will go and report the same symptoms, and the doctors will say, this is serious, we need to do something. Does that make sense?
Wow. Amen. Amen. You see, that's why it is said that two heads are better than what? One. You hear Dr. Parks, basically it goes hand in hand with the lecture that Dr. Parks was doing. Many times women are misdiagnosed, is what he had said in one of the lectures, right, Dr. Parks? Amen. Let's continue here. What organ, I repeat this already, but I just want to refresh it in your memory because I'm going to make a transition here. Which organ produces cholesterol, saints? Good, the liver. Just want to make sure you remember that. What foods contain cholesterol? Does anyone know? Okay. Animal products, you guys say. Okay, listen to, and mushroom. Amen. Listen what it says here. Cholesterol is found only in animal foods. Plant-based foods do not contain cholesterol. It's as simple as that. Let's repeat that again. What